Hey everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 17, Episode 9, Loose Lips and Relationships. All right, this is a to be continued from last week. We are at the lunch with Tres Amigas, Tamara, Shannon, and Vicky. And Shannon has just been confronted by Tamara with the news that perhaps things that she has shared about her relationship with John to Heather may have shared that with others. Tamara being one of them, and Gina and Emily being two others. So Shannon's having a slight freak out. Tamara, don't do this. Don't do this to me. Tamara, I'm mic'd. I have to go. So she heads over to a table in the restaurant where the producers are sitting. Tamara goes after her, and she's like, if this is about my relationship, then it's over. Is that what this is about? And Tamara's like, yeah, it is. So we're picking up right there. Shannon's crying, and she says to Tamara, you don't know what this is going to do to my relationship. Cut over to Vicky at the table by herself. What happened? Was it something I said? But she cannot keep the smile off her face. She's loving every minute of being on camera again. Oh, side note real quick. Last week when she was going through the places where she has homes, and I was like, Kyoto, is that in Japan? And I looked it up. Yeah, for sure it's in Japan. And I said, I can't quite imagine Vicky Gunvalson having a home in Japan. Like, it wasn't quite on brand. And then a lot of you in the comments corrected me by saying, no, she said her home in Koto. And I don't know if that's like the name of the town, but I know that's the name of her insurance company is Koto Insurance. So of course she said Koto, not Kyoto. However, in my defense, I watch this show with the closed captioning on so that, because I'm looking down, I'm taking notes, and a lot of times I have to I want to get word for word what somebody said. So in my defense, the closed captioning did say Kyoto. So that kind of threw me. Anywho, rest assured, Vicky Gunvalson does not have a home in Japan, and she may have never even been there. All right, so now in Shannon's confessional, she says, I made the decision to confide in Heather about something that was upsetting me in my relationship. I was vulnerable. Now back to Shannon and Tamara at the restaurant. Shannon says to her, this is a blindside to me, Tamara. And Tamara goes, I know. I'm sorry. She's holding her face. I'm sorry. Are you, though, really? You're the one that brought it up on camera. Heather didn't. Heather may have told everyone in town what Shannon told her in confidence, but Heather never did it on camera. You're the one making it a storyline, Tamara, so I question how sorry you are. But anyway, she's like, I'm sorry. And Shannon's like, it's all good. Oh. So now they get back to the table, and Vicky's like, you got this, girl. Got what, Vicky? So then Tamara says to Shannon, also, can I be honest with you? Well, I mean, that's kind of the $1 million question, isn't it? Can you? Evidently, Heather has been telling this to Emily and Gina as well, that your relationship with John is shit. Thanks, Tamara. So Shannon goes, details? Or did she just say shit? Tamara's like, that it's not good. She said you guys are not good. Vicky, why is she talking about your relationship? Yeah, they all agree that no relationship is great 100% of the time. Vicky, so what are you going to do about Heather now? Vicky is now invested because Heather kind of looked down her nose at Vicky. So Vicky's all in with, let's go after Heather. And Shannon's like, well, I'm going to say read between the lines. She's pulling out that old chestnut. she goes, I'm sorry, but I feel betrayed by Heather. Vicky, she did betray you. Shannon, people in glass houses. But what's it called? And then Vicky is so helpful. Oh, I like shoot the stones at them. Yeah. Oh, it's bad when Tamara is the one that's like the intellect of the group. Tamara's like, shouldn't throw stones. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Oh, God. All right, next we are at a pumpkin patch with the Simpsons. Emily, Shane, and the kids. And they're, having some parenting conflict. In Emily's confessional, she attributes it to their different childhoods. And 100%, that's a part of it at the very least. When they're on the tractor ride, Emily tells Annabelle, go sit on the side with your brothers. And Shane goes, why can't she just sit there? She was on the side with Emily and Shane. And Emily's like, well, she can. Okay, come over here. And clearly Annabelle was upset about something before because she was kind of sitting up front. And she goes, you told me you don't want me to sit by you. And Shannon's like, no, sit by me. Yeah, I think what's going on is Emily is trying to control everything around her, even when it's unnecessary to do so. Like controlling where Annabelle sits on this little tractor ride. It doesn't matter. She was fine where she was. The boys are fine. She didn't have to bring it up and start anything. But Shane kind of checking her and calling her out in front of the kids is a problem. She doesn't like that. I get that. It makes her feel undermined. But most importantly, it's confusing for the kids. And it can undermine her authority. For example, when she's alone with the kids and telling them to do something, they may tell her she's wrong the way they saw Daddy do it, that kind of thing. But Emily does need to chill a little bit. Listen, I've had enough therapy in my lifetime to know that this is most likely coming from Emily's childhood, where she did not have enough structure and felt unsafe at times. Kids who grew up feeling helpless and perhaps there was no adult who was in control of the situation oftentimes become control freaks as adults. I understand where Emily is coming from. She wants a different childhood for her kids than she had. And, I get that. I think a better way might have been if Shane would have just gently, they were sitting right next to each other. If he would have just gently put his hand on her arm and got her attention and said, Annabelle's probably okay sitting where she is, right? Enough for Emily to realize, yeah, you're right. And this would have just been an exchange right between the parents without the kids really being aware of it. And then Shane himself, I think his style might be that when things are awkward, he makes jokes. And, this is kind of his go-to. He resorts to that when he's feeling uncomfortable. And he's on a decent amount of time, but I do get the feeling that the cameras being around, probably never something Shane was really into, but because Emily was, he said, okay. That's just my feeling. I think it's probably heightened when the cameras are around, this kind of, not listening and just resorting to jokes. Listen, I think Emily likes that. I know she loves him, right? But maybe not 24/7. That can be a lot. And then I think there are times that she wants to have a serious conversation with him, but for whatever reason, he's trying to joke his way out of something uncomfortable. That can be a lot. Shane is a lot in general. Okay, next we are at a froyo place with Jen and Tamara. And Tamara uses her favorite apology line, this overly sincere, I am so sorry. I really, really apologize. And then I'll take complete blame for all of it. That's new. She said the exact same thing to Shannon. So I don't know if she came into this season saying, you know what? I'm just going to tell everybody I take full responsibility. That may have just like been her MO for coming back onto the show. Here's what I'll do. I'll apologize. I'll say it was all my fault. Let's move on. And that's sort of like a blanket way. It will absolve her from everything in the past. And they can move forward. Tamara's actually tearing up right now. And she said, a lot has been going on with me. My head has not been in a good place lately. And I probably was just taking it out on you. Oh my God. She actually just told Jen that she would like to sit down and talk with Ryan. Jen's like, thank you. I think Ryan would be very open to that. No, Jen, she said sit down and talk, not have a three-way. Because I'm not sure Ryan would be very open to having a conversation with Tamara. Okay, so since this season is Real Housewives of Orange County Water Edition, we are planning another boat trip. Tamara tells Jen that Shannon and John have invited her and Eddie to go out on John's boat and then go to a restaurant. And she suggested that they also invite Jen and Ryan. And Jen goes, oh, you did? Jen, oh, she's so naive. Jen strikes me as being very, very sweet and understanding. I think it's the only reason why she hasn't already kicked Ryan out. Anyway, she's just thrilled that Tamara had suggested to Shannon that they also invite Jen and Ryan. Tamara's like, yeah, nobody's perfect. She's right. Like sometimes when you look at a woman for the first time and then you tell your female friend, oh, I'm going to f her. And then when your female friend says, oh, no, she's married, and you say, just watch me, I'm still going to f her, things get said, no one's perfect. Tamara's literally like, look, he has made mistakes, but like I never should have mentioned it. What? This is why I can't totally get on board with this show. Tamara, either you're very offended, as well you should be. I don't think just being a woman means we need to put up with comments like that and treatment like that from men. So yeah, I get it. But now I'm thinking, no, you weren't. You weren't really. This was for the TV show. Because personally, if that happened to me, I wouldn't be suggesting that guy come out on a boat with me. I don't know. For Jen's part, she, her friendship with Tamara is very important to her, and she's going to give her another chance, but she's guarded. I don't believe she's guarded. I don't think she has it in her to be guarded. I just think she is saying those words, but really, I just think as far as it goes with Ryan and Tamara, Jen will just keep taking them back as long as they keep apologizing. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. Okay, in this next scene, Heather is meeting with Mark Cuban and this woman, Fallon. I don't know. They have started this company that is like the first interactive streaming channel. And apparently, Heather has signed on to, do a show of some sort. It feels like this is like YouTube Live. Anyway, it's called Fireside Network, and apparently she talks about it every chance she gets because we saw a montage of every time she mentioned it to somebody else. All right, now we are shopping with Gina and Jen. Jen is asking Gina again about this real estate thing, and I guess she just said, what are you up to? And Gina goes, well, I'm getting my realtor's license. And I was just out with our friends who have the top real estate company in the entire area. And Travis used to do mortgages with them. And then they said to him, you should go for your real estate license. So Travis came to me with the idea. He said, we should do this together. So apparently Travis already got his license. So just waiting on Gina. She thinks she should get hers in the next couple months. Side note, Gina's eyelashes are intense. Holy crap. Those are not casual daytime shopping lashes. Those are, I've been nominated for an Oscar and I'm standing on stage accepting my award lashes. I mean, I've never seen bigger, longer, more dense. Look, I'm not saying they're extreme. I'm just saying that Jen better hold on to her extensions with both hands, because every time Gina blinks, there's gale force winds coming at her. Jen tells Gina that she met with Tamra, and Gina goes, oh, how did it go? And she said, I think we got like in a really good spot. And then Gina makes this face. Yeah, she's a little more skeptical than Jen. Jen then tells her that she and Ryan have been invited to go out on John's boat with Shannon and Tamra and Eddie. And Gina's like, oh my God, that's gotta be so uncomfortable. And Jen goes, yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried about Ryan. I'm worried about Eddie. And I don't really know Shannon and John. And Gina goes, yeah, nobody really talks about John and Shannon, but what I've heard is not great. Oh, fun. Next, we are at a kickboxing class with Tamra and Jen and Heather. Tamra just, kissing Heather hello, joking with her. Everything's great, even though she just threw her under the bus to Shannon at that lunch, backed the bus up, and ran over her again. Yeah. Anywho, they get to talking afterwards, and Heather mentions that she and Terry are in escrow on a little place in LA. And Jen goes, oh, are you moving there? Are you selling your house? And she goes, oh, no, it's not big enough to move there. It's just, it's just a place for me to have a little foothold in LA, a little presence there, a little pied-à-terre. And Tamara's like, pied de what? So then Tamara mentions that she and Eddie went on a double date with Shannon and John. And Heather's like, oh, fun. How was it? Tamara's like, they seemed really happy. And Heather goes, yeah, that's what I think too. They seem happy. Well, that's not the response Tamara wanted. So in her confessional, she's like, interesting, Heather, because you told me the opposite, and to Emily and Gina. I don't know if she forgot that, but I want to test her. See how far she'll lie. So Tamara goes, yeah, at one point, Eddie kind of like caught them off guard. And he's like, are you living together yet? And they're all like, oh my gosh, no. So, Heather's suspicious. In her confessional, she said, it's not like we talk about Shannon and John's life all the time. So what is this? Why now? Why in front of Jen? And then she said, Tamara and Shannon are really close again. And Tamara has a big mouth. If I had an opinion on Shannon, you think I'm going to tell Tamara? Then we cut to Tamara's confessional. Joke's on you, bitch. I already told her. Well, now we are going out to dinner with Shane and Emily. And Emily is basically addressing the observation I made earlier that Shane kind of jokes too much, or, when she needs to talk about something seriously, he's always joking. And she goes, I like that. I like that he's funny, but I don't always want him to be funny. So she talks to him about how he corrected her in front of the kids. And, to everyone's shock, I thought he was pretty good about this whole conversation. He did not try to, diffuse or lighten the mood or redirect with a joke or anything like that. He just said, oh, I didn't think I was doing that. I thought I was just adding to what you were saying. And she said no, and that she felt undermined. And he said, well, I'm really sorry. I did not, and that was not my intention. Yeah, he listened. He apologized, didn't try to joke his way out of the conversation. I don't know. I felt like it went pretty well. All right, now we are with Gina, and she's at an open house. She's at a house that's for sale. It's not an open house, but she has baked some cookies based on, I guess, when she had gone there with, the top real estate company in the area. When she was talking with them, they talked about different things that are inviting to people. Smells are inviting. If the house smells fresh and clean, that's very inviting to someone. Or like in the kitchen, they were like, they don't just want the smell of homemade cookies. They want the cookies. So I don't know. It's a setup scene, so I'm not even sure why she was baking cookies, but she's in there baking cookies. And Travis comes in. And so she wants him to kind of role play like he's a potential buyer for the house. And she's going to take him through the house and they're going to assess how she did. Which I guess she did pretty well, except for one small factor. And this is so Gina. She didn't know how much the house cost. Even though it's not her listing or anything, she's not a real estate agent yet, wouldn't that be like one of the first things you would ask? Anyway, next we are at John's house on the water. And he and Shannon are having a drink while they're waiting for their guests to arrive. And he asks her about the lunch with Tamara and Vicky. And he's like, how'd it go with Vicky? And Shannon's like, it was good. Like she's very like she won't even make eye contact with him. And he goes, was it? Shannon, mm-hmm. John's like, were there a lot of laughs? Shannon, yeah, a lot of laughs. In her confessional, she's like, I'm not going to tell John anything. Because we're about to have a fun night, and I don't want to have like a dark cloud over things. All right, so Tamara and Eddie get there first. John has a dog, Banks, who is untrained and was kind of like, going after Tamara. I don't know if he nipped at her butt or whatever. Tamara went over by where Shannon was, and she quietly asks her if she's okay. And she said, yeah. And she said, did you tell him? And she goes, no. I want to know exactly what Heather said first. Yeah, let's not admit to anything that wasn't said. Let's find out what they know first, and then we'll admit to that. So then Tamara reminds her that this is the first time she's seeing Ryan since the Cut Fitness event. The goodbye party. And she's like, I'm nervous. Yeah, you think? You're the one that invited this idiot onto a boat. It's one thing to invite him to a party where there's lots of people, and maybe at one point in the night you can have a conversation with him, but there's only 6 of you on this tiny boat. This is going to be awkward. Anyway, before Ryan and Jen get there, Tamara and Eddie fill in John on, everything that's going on. John didn't know anything, although he did say he knew about the dick pic. Apparently, John was on the list that accidentally received it. Anyway, Tamara's like, I just wanted to give you a heads up in case when we're out on the boat, someone goes overboard. Side note, should we address how Eddie doesn't really like Shannon? He's Team David Bedore. Isn't this already awkward even before Ryan and Jen get there? Of course, depending on what Shannon told Heather about her relationship with John, John may also be Team David Bedore. All right, so Jen and Ryan get there, and no surprise, Ryan dresses like a douchebag. You know what I mean? Like too young, trying a little too hard to be cool, not really pulling it off. So it's time to get on the boat, and it's just really awkward. It's so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Shannon's undoing the ropes that's, tying them to the dock, and Eddie's like, you need some help, Shannon? No, I've got it. But it's silence. There's just silence. In this next scene, we are at Heather and Terry Dubrows' house, and they're having an interesting conversation. Apparently, even though their house is not on the market, they got a call from Josh Altman. Side note, I don't watch $1 Million Listing, but I feel like Josh Altman is one of the guys. I could be wrong. I know there's a Josh Flagg, or there was, but I also feel like Josh Altman was on that show. It would make sense because Heather is so into reality TV. If it's another chance for her to be on TV, just like Heather made an appearance on Selling Sunset when she bought the place in LA from that Heather, I feel like that's kind of on brand for Heather. If we're going to sell our home, maybe we'll also get on that TV show. And then, it's another paycheck, right? Anyway, they get this call out of the blue from Josh Altman. And basically, he has a buyer for their house. He's got someone he's been taking around. They haven't found anything yet, but he's a heavy, heavy hitter. So it's got them thinking, oh my God, it took forever for them to build this house. I remember when it all started. So this is like crazy. I can't believe she's considering moving. I mean, remember, like everything had to be perfect. Remember how the one ice maker makes like diamond-shaped ice cubes or something? It's like every single detail. I feel like it took her years and years to get it right, and they finally moved in, and now they're going to sell it? I would be buried in that house if I were her. I mean, Josh did throw out the number 65 million. So I understand how it's got them thinking. Terry is like, yeah, 22,000 square feet is a lot for 4 people. It really is. Their house is about 10 times the size of my house and 200 times the cost of my house. Okay, so now we check back into that super fun boat ride. Shannon has finished her first mate duties, and she has come to sit down right next to Eddie. Of all people. Sorry, Eddie. And anyway, Shannon points out, oh, we're passing the scene of the crime. The guys were like, what? And they go, oh, well, there's Nobu. And so Eddie goes, scene of the crime, who got killed? And Jen goes, I did. But then I resurrected. I'm like Jesus himself. There's just silence. Finally, you just hear Shannon. Does anyone want a cheese? In Tamara's confessional, she said, I don't even want to look at Ryan, but he always dresses so silly. Like, why does he have leopard on his collar? I mean, to be fair, that's the least of it. I didn't even notice it. There was leopard on his collar. I couldn't get past those ripped up skinny jeans with the drop crotch. What are you, a 16-year-old skateboarder? All right, so they get to the restaurant and they're seated at the square table, but it's a big square so that Shannon and I almost said David. David. Shannon and John are sitting next to each other on one end, and then they're flanked by Tamara and Eddie, and then over on the other side is Jen and Ryan. Nobody's seated at the other side. It's like they're in a U shape the way they're sitting. So, still quiet, awkward. Eddie's kind of stirring up stuff a little bit, I think. He made a little sexual innuendo kind of comment. It was weird, and this is why I'm thinking he's intentionally doing this, because it wasn't like the perfect segue. It was sort of weird the way Eddie said this, but I don't even know what happened. Ryan may have put his arm around the chair that Jen was on, and then when he pulled it back, I don't know, his watch got caught in her hair or something. And Eddie goes, oh, hey, save it for the bedroom. Something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't really make sense. It's stupid. It made me think that he's trying to be, a provocateur here. I was sure of it when the appetizers came out and these deviled eggs that are like stacked up like 5 inches tall. When he looked at those and he said, I don't even know how I'd get that big thing in my mouth. Okay, Eddie, I see what you're doing here. And it worked because Ryan took the bait and says, honey, show him how you do it. You're a pig. You're just like a gross pig. Eddie laughs. Jen's like, shut up. Like all playful and thinking her man is so funny. He's not. So Ryan goes, you've seen the picture. Jen goes, what picture? Ryan, the dick pic. Okay, sure. So Tamara goes, oh, do you want to talk about the dick pic? Nobody says a word. Jen goes, well, if you'd like to, since you brought it up. And Ryan goes, no, I have nothing to address. More silence. In her confessional, this is the best thing Jen's ever said. She goes, I'm done talking on Ryan's behalf. Eddie, Tamara, and Ryan need to now talk to each other and work this out. The war's on. Get in the conversation. So, lightening the mood, Shannon says to John, have you ever sent one? And John's just like, no. Then we get Shannon's confessional. I have never jumped on the dick pic train. I don't understand it. I don't even like saying the word dick. So, like, a few minutes later, Shannon whispers to John, I have to go use the restroom. And John goes, I'll go with you. Shannon's like, you're coming with me? And he goes, yeah, I'll use the restroom too. And also, do not think you're going to leave me alone with these people. Shannon's like, we'll be back in a moment. And Tamara said, so now that they're gone, we should use this opportunity to talk. Ryan, first and foremost, brother, I could cry. I owe you an apology. I'm sorry. I never noticed Ryan's voice before. It's a little Kermit the Frog. Is it like, does steroids do something to your voice? It's almost like a teenage boy whose voice is changing in a way. It's a little higher than I thought it was going to be. Anyway, Eddie goes, why do you owe me an apology, Ryan?
Because I care about you. And if something was told to me, even though I found out later it wasn't true, that's just not cool. I'm actually empathetic. It breaks my heart to see what Jen's been dealing with, and I'm really struggling. I'm feeling hurt, and honestly, I feel a little betrayed by you, Tamara.
I'll work on it. So Eddie goes, I was told that you go after married women. And then fast forward like 30 days later, you're together with her. And I found out when you told me, Jen, in Mexico. And it blew my mind. I had no clue you were going through that, and you're amazing. I'm not sure I'm following this line of reasoning. He found out from Jen that she was with Ryan just a month after he had been warned that Ryan goes after married women. He knows Jen was a married woman. So I get that whole thing. His mind was blown. But I'm not sure why he's saying, Jen, you're amazing. And then Tamara jumps on that too. Yeah, so you're strong. You're so strong. And Jen's like, thank you for that. Eddie's like, yeah, super strong. But I couldn't help conclude that this rumor was true. You're going after married women. So yeah, just time out for a second. If you guys understand what he meant by, like, why are they saying Jen is like so amazing and strong? And I'm not sure what they're referring to exactly. Just putting up with the fact that her man is like the town whore? I don't know. I know they don't mean she was strong for leaving her husband, unless there was something about her husband. But I've never heard that, like that he was abusive or something like that. I have never, not once heard that it was great that she got away from her husband. All that was ever implied was that she kind of broke up her own family to be with this douchebag. So I don't understand that part. Anyway, moving on, Tamara says, and we've known Jen longer than we've known you. So of course, when we're hearing that stuff about you, a lot of stuff is going through our minds. Now Shannon and John return, and Eddie says, I would like to address some rumors just so we can squash them, he says to Ryan. And then I'm surprised he didn't pull out a notepad and his glasses and a pencil, and it was like he had become Johnny Reporter. Okay, number one, did you cheat on your wife? And Ryan said,
I did, multiple times.
And he's like, you did? Okay. So, generally then that makes you a cheater. That would put the cheater label on you. Side note, Shannon and John look like they're at a tennis match. They're just going back and forth from Eddie to Ryan to Eddie to, oh my God, Eddie. Next question. When you walked into my gym and Heather Amin heard you say, you want to f my wife, did you say that or not? Shannon and John. Okay, so here's how I know Ryan is lying. He's using way too many words. He's like,
what I will say is absolutely not. And I'll be honest with you.
Usually a sign that they're not going to be honest, but okay, go on. Anyway, he says that Heather Amin called him and told him, Tamara was talking about you on the treadmill. Tamara says you're hot. Tamara said this. Tamara said that. And he goes, we had a good laugh. And you know what I said? Tamara's hot. And that's it. End of story, Tamara. So you're saying Heather Amin is the one that's telling lies? Ryan.
Uh-huh.
In Shannon's Confessional, she said, I don't know what's true and what isn't, but I've known Heather Amin for years, and she's a doll. I don't know her to be a liar at all. And then in Jen's confessional, she still thinks that Heather Amin is in love with Ryan or was in love with Ryan. And that's what's prompting all this. And you're still wrong. Eddie, I have just one more question here before I go. Have you cheated on Jen? Ryan.
I did not.
Then he says about 4 or 5 months into their relationship, he said it's too much. And they took a break. He's like, we stayed in that spot for maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And Tamara goes, but if you loved her and you're apart for 4 or 5 weeks and you sleep with someone else, do you really love her? And Ryan goes, definitely. In Jen's confessional, which is probably the most honest one of all, she said, in my mind, if during a break you're still communicating every day and you're saying how much you miss the other person and this sucks being apart, how the hell do you go and sleep with somebody else? I felt like I was cheated on. I mean, that's the first time she said that and didn't just, no, he didn't cheat on me. We were on a break. Anyway, so Eddie says that he's asking the questions so that they can get over it and move on. Ryan and Jen are like, no, really, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And Jen hopes that they never need to talk about it again. Wrong. If I were Tamara and Eddie, I could never be couple friends with them. At least not until I heard from Heather Amin in front of everybody. Heather Amin should have been at that dinner. I want that conversation between Heather Amin and Ryan. I want to watch their body language. I want to see their facial expressions as much as the words they're saying. Listen, if they were like brother and sister, if they were that close, I want to know what happened. Eddie, grab your notepad. We're going to Heather Amin's. Grab your spotlight, your interrogation equipment. Let's go. I mean, at Emily's pool party, Heather Amin said, I cannot condone his behavior. If he was the town whore and you were like a sister to him, what was the final straw for you, Heather Amin? What turned you against being friends with him? What did he do? I don't know. And please don't say it's because you're in love with him, because I will not buy that. I don't buy it. Did you see that jacket and those skinny jeans? Come on. Nobody's in love with that. So anyway, Tamara's like, okay, well, good. So what's next for you guys? Plans, vacation, trips, marriage, moving in together? And Ryan's like, yes. And she goes, to what? There were a lot of questions in there. And he said, to everything. Moving in, marriage, the works. We're definitely going to get married. And Tamara's like, okay, well, Jen's got to get divorced first. There's that one little thing. And then in Tamara's confessional, she said, yeah, I won't hold my breath. I might not even get invited to this wedding. And Jen's going to have a hard time finding bridesmaids that Ryan hasn't yet. So true. All right, and that is it for episode 9. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed, and please click on the bell icon to be notified every time I post something new. And real quick before I go, I think I am going to be doing a Q&A again soon. I've been getting a lot of questions. I think I'm just gonna kind of put them all together in another little video. So if you have any burning questions you've always been wanting to ask Jill Informed, go ahead and leave it in the comments and I will address them in a video coming sometime in the future. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being here. I love you guys and I'll see you next week. Bye.